Yes, give me more. Damn, so good. Welcome to another episode of the Artiste Analysis, and today we are going to take a look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, let's talk about her. When I first heard Taylor Swift, I remember it was long time ago. I think it was back then in 2009. It was in 2009 when I think I heard Taylor Swift's Love Story, and immediately I fell in love with Love Story. I love the melody of Love Story. And the thing is this, because back then I was so young, I didn't know that Taylor Swift is called Taylor Swift. I thought Taylor Swift is Juliet, because the whole time in Love Story, Taylor Swift was singing Romeo and Juliet. So in my mind, I thought like Romeo is like her boyfriend and like Juliet is her, because she actually played Juliet, if I'm not wrong, in the MV. So the whole time I was thinking, oh, I love Juliet. I love her singing. I love Juliet's voice. But afterwards I realized, oh, wait, Romeo and Juliet is a story. And then I realized, oh, her name is actually called Taylor Swift. She's not Juliet. And for a while, I was like, oh, I love Juliet. I was going on Google, Juliet singing. And the only result I probably would get back then is just Love Story and nothing else. Here's my own personal thoughts on Taylor Swift. Personally, I love Taylor Swift's songs. I remember when I was younger, I used to love her songs like Blank Space, We're Never Getting Back Together, all those kinds of songs. Back then when she released it in 2013, 2014, around those years, I loved those songs. Like, her songs are so catchy. Like, back then I don't even know how to sing. I just want to listen to songs, and I realized I'm always listening to Taylor Swift songs. And back then I was not concerned with singing, so I'm always just listening to Taylor Swift sing. So here's my impression of Taylor Swift. I feel like Taylor Swift, she's a great songwriter, and the way Taylor Swift sings is a bit more musical theatre as well, especially at parts, especially in one of our older songs like We're Never Getting Back Together. Like, she tends to incorporate talking and just musical theatre kind of stuffs with actual pop singing, so it's quite a good blend of it. Recently we have seen a new young star who is rising. Her name is Olivia Rodrigo. She tends to do something similar to what Taylor Swift is doing. If I go a bit deeper, a lot of the times it is this kind of music that really catches people's hearts, because if you take a look at Taylor Swift's lyrics, most of the time you realize that when Taylor Swift writes her lyrics is almost very relatable. It is not writing about drugs, beaches and all of that. It's just writing about very heartbreak songs, very raw, emotional, relatable songs that we all can relate. And we do see the same thing that Olivia Rodrigo does that with her songs like Happier, Traitor, Driver's License. Very relatable songs, like what Taylor Swift does with Blank Space, We're Never Getting Back Together. Very speech-like, the lyrics. But don't get me wrong, Taylor Swift have those very poetry-like kind of lyrics as well. But it's really a fusion of both poetry and the actual day-to-day conversation. Does that make sense? So this is what I really like about Taylor Swift. I love her composing, the kind of melody she writes, the lyrics that she uses for her songs. I want to talk about her vocal technique, because that is what we're actually doing here. So before I actually watch her performance, I do have a rough idea of how Taylor Swift sounds like and what's her vocal technique like. But before I go on further, let's first go to Google and see what the general public thinks about Taylor Swift as a singer. Okay, so I just typed in, can Taylor Swift sing? And here's the result that we got. Taylor Swift isn't an awful singer, though her vocal range isn't enormous, but it's enough to get a job done on kind of songs that she appears on. She can do soft, low-key songs and loud, boisterous ones reasonably well, and her vocal delivery packs more of a punch than say a Justin Bieber or Selena Gomez. Wow, they're like, whoever wrote this is like neutral with Taylor Swift, but it's hating on Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez. So let's click on this link and see how things are like. So someone said, hey, I consider her to be pretty average. She's not a horrible singer, But in today's pop landscape, that's not usually good enough. Most pop stars aren't famous because they're good singers. I don't think that's true. Like, this person has no idea what the fuck he or she is talking about. Most pop stars aren't famous because they're good singers? Are you sure? Could you check your facts? Right. The last time I checked, most famous singers, most pop stars, they are famous partially, or if not largely, it's because they have awesome vocals. So don't go there on internet and sprout nonsense. And this is 2018. It's a while ago. And it continues. She's no Beyonce, but the singing is perfectly fine. Okay, I do agree with this. If I'm being honest here, Taylor Swift's vocal technique is definitely not at Beyonce's level, but don't get me wrong, Taylor Swift's vocal technique is pretty damn fucking good. Because what most people don't realize is, people like Beyonce, people like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Dimash, Bruno Mars, they are really aliens. Bruno Mars is still okay, because as a guy I can relate to how it feels like. But for the ladies, the way I look at it, Beyonce, she's just too good. Taylor Swift, you compare her with most female singers, she will beat them hands down. It's just that it is unfair to compare Taylor Swift with Beyonce. Beyonce is just, I don't even need to do an analysis on her. I'll just end up reacting the whole time because I love her so much. Alright? Because her vocals are so good. I think Taylor Swift is an excellent singer who has the gift of a pretty voice. I'm one of her fans. Also, she has many kinds of songs, pop, rock, slow rapping. True, she's a very enthusiastic singer with different styles of singing. I like her style because she's not like the other singers. She sings differently and sees music differently. Singing is a passion, and I think Taylor Swift is totally worth being a famous singer. Yeah, of course, Taylor Swift is good. We can see evidences later. Now, as I'm going through the Google search, something caught my eyes. It says that in 2008, which is long time ago, somebody said, hey, has anybody noticed that Taylor Swift can't sing? Let's take a look. It's a good time to be Taylor Swift, as if there's ever a bad time. Last Sunday, she won an American Music Award. Oh, and she used to date a Jonas brother. I didn't know that. But it seems a little weird to ask if anybody noticed that she can't sing. And by that, I don't mean that she's bland or immature, incapable of connecting with her material, and totally devoid of any personality whatsoever. I mean that she can't carry a tune. Her voice was weak. She appeared to be desperately trying to remember, hit all her marks, and there are some seriously rough patches towards the end. Now, is that actually true? I'm not too sure, because the first time I listened to Taylor Swift was in 2009 when I heard Love Story. So let's watch this video and see if it's true. This video is unavailable. Hey, if you're one of our fans, send me the link below. Like, what video is this? Why is it unavailable? I wanna watch it and analyze it for myself. But let's just pretend that that is true. Let's see what happens to Taylor Swift singing now, because I'm only concerned about the present moment. However a singer performed in the past should not matter to how she performs today, or how he or she performs today. There was a period when Justin Bieber's vocals wasn't up to standard, but look at today. I believe that Justin Bieber's voice with his new album is coming back again. So I'm more curious to see how Taylor Swift's voice sounds like today. So now let's move on to Taylor Swift's recent singing, and let's analyze how Taylor Swift is singing her songs. Now let's first take a look at Taylor Swift singing Wildest Dreams. By the way, this is one of my favorite songs from her. It is so sexy and so beautiful and so nice. So let's take a look.
This is called Wildest Dreams.
He said, let's get out of this town, drive out of the city, away from the crowds. I thought heaven can't help me now, nothing lasts forever. But this is gonna take me down. He's so tall, handsome as hell. He's so bad, but he does it so well. I can see the end as it begins. My one condition is, say you'll remember me.
Let me know in the comment section down below what do you think about her voice so far. I think it sounds spectacular. Can you hear that her voice is actually very good? And some of the notes that she sang there, it is not low. For example here. Dreams. It is B4. It is in the girls, your ladies' first passaggio already. Your first bridge. She's singing B4 like it's nothing. For a guy, a B4 equivalent for a lady. For a guy watching this, normally you'll feel like a G4. So think of it as a guy singing G4 effortlessly. As a guy, can you sing G4 effortlessly? Taylor Swift as a female, she's singing B4 effortlessly right there in full mixed voice. I don't think she's very bad. She haven't gone super high yet, but for a singing range, her high note singing range, she's singing above the passaggio, and it's not a problem so far. And later on, I want to point out some other things about. I want you to notice the way Taylor Swift shaped her vowels. Do you realize that as Taylor Swift opened her mouth wide fucking open, she doesn't close her mouth down? Like a lot of times, you know, if you've been learning speech level singing or descendants of it, you realize that there's this common idea that you have to close down your mouth, you have to narrow your mouth, you have to modify your vowels in order to not pull chest voice or shout or whatsoever. Do you realize that for Taylor Swift right there, she's opening her mouth really wide and there's no issues? Let's keep watching and I'm going to point out to you where it happens. Right there. Ha, 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 ah. She's not modifying to no, ha, ha, ah. Wildest dreams. Can you see that even her E is not wildest dream, wildest dreams, Ladies, do your octave higher than me. I'm just showing you what she's able to achieve there. Try opening her mouth big. Wildest dreams, like what Taylor Swift is doing there. It is actually harder than you think. Most of the time, what we tend to do is we tend to start shouting and yelling. But Taylor Swift, she's opening up and yet she's keeping everything in the high complete mixed voice vocal placement. And when she does that, when she allows the sound to only sit in the narrow spots in the high placement and she doesn't allow it to spread out of the mouth, or she doesn't allow the acoustic energy to fall back into the low placement, when she's able to do that, then she can drop the jaw and yet she wouldn't yell, wouldn't shout, wouldn't strain. Now let's keep watching. Can you hear that her low notes are floating? Her low notes are not sinking and heavy. Her low notes, even her low notes are high up here. Listen again. Know what we do, know what we do. Floating is know what we do. No. Ladies, you might not face this problem as often, but guys will face this problem more often. But some ladies, when you feel like you can't go higher, you are stuck here. Your heavy chest voice. Listen to Taylor Swift. His hands are in my hair. Floating. His hands are in my hair. Hands are in my hair. Hands are in my hair. No. Hands are in my hair. Floating the high placement. And afterwards, later she just take this quality up all the way into her B4. Her B4 when she's singing the choruses now, it's the same thing. Except her CT muscles, her cricothyroid muscles are now stretching and extending. Can you tell that from those low notes to those high notes, there's no change in placement? It's the same placement, but different pitches. Listen again. E3, D3, which is decently low for a lady to hit that. And then you see when she jumps to the high note. Straight up into the G4, A4, B4. She jumped more than an octave, but guess what? She didn't find the temptations to change the placement. She's keeping the exact same placement and then she's switching between those placements. Rewind it and watch again by yourself. Now, I've talked about this before in my tutorial videos before, that you want to compress into the high hit voice placement. Taylor Swift is demonstrating it perfectly here. I want you to listen to how she's switching between her hit voice and her mixed voice. But even though the sound is different, one is more full, one is more held back, the placement is the same. All she's doing is she's compressing into the high placement. Listen again. Light. Light. Hell is light. She found a placement. Hell, 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 high placement, hell, handsome as hell, hell. Before, on the word bad, she compresses into it on the same placement. Listen. Before, right there. Same pitch, the pitch didn't shift. The placement didn't shift. The only thing that changed is the compression. She compressed more. She allowed her vocal cords to come together more. That's it. No other changes. Most of the time we can't execute that because we make too much changes. The placement changed when we change compression level. We drop into a low placement to try to force out that note. But can you realize how relaxed Taylor Swift is doing it there? Let's keep watching. Keep switching between different compression. Wide open. Open up. Before we continue, I want you girls to try this. Try singing this song. This is going to be a lot harder than you think. You see, even though it is not a super high note, it is still a high note. B4 for a lady is still a high note. It is not, let's say, D5, D5 sharp, E5, F5. It is not that high. Most of the time, in order to repeatedly, consistently hit that B4 over and over again, like what Taylor Swift, I think she did it at least like 20 times. 20 fucking times in this song, over and over again. It is not easy. You can hit before once. That could be easy, just scratch on the surface and go. But to keep going back, and to have so much accuracy without slipping off and missing, it is not easy. You can only achieve it once you have accessed your high complete mixed voice vocal placement, and it's so stable, it doesn't drop back into a low placement like what Taylor Swift is doing there. She makes it seems very easy. She's very relaxed. She's just playing the guitar even some more. She's not just purely focusing on singing. But girls, ladies, you can try this song. It is not as easy as you think. But if it's easy for you, most likely you have access to high placement. Look at how easy Taylor Swift is doing it. And people say that Taylor Swift can't sing. I don't think so. I don't think that's low at all. This song isn't low at all. It is just not super high, but it is not low either. Would you agree, ladies? Comment down below. Let me know. Low notes, high placement. No pressure. Pressure coming off.
Even if it's just pretend.
Explode right into us. Look at her mouth. Not narrowing. Like, it's good, it's nice. Like, not every song is about belting out very, very high notes. I think the highest note there, if I didn't remember wrongly, is just B4. Maybe she touches C5 or C5 sharp. I didn't even take note of it. She went to B4 multiple times in this song. It's like a guy. If you're a guy watching this, you hit G4 multiple times. Most guys, you know, G4, maybe you touch, you scrape past it, it's okay. But if I let you hit G4 consistently, what will happen? Comment down below. You feel pressure building up. First time, you hit the note, it's easy. Second time, third time, fourth time, still okay. Fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth time. When you repeatedly hit that same note in your passaggio and you are in your low placement, you will feel very tired. But when you can access your high placement, you can hit that high note multiple times and yet your voice won't break, you won't feel tired. That's why a lot of times when you're doing vocal exercise. Why do you think it's easier than when you hit it multiple times, 4 times instead of 1 time? It requires you to have more control. Does that make sense? More control. And how do you get this more control? By keeping everything in a high placement. Without a high placement, there's just no way to sing like how Taylor Swift is doing that. It's not possible at all. I don't know how. Taylor Swift is definitely not like what people said in Quora or online on Google. She's very good. At least when she made this performance, I think it was like 1, 2, 3 years ago. It's pretty damn good. I enjoyed this performance. It's Taylor Swift. She never fails to impress me. Not with her crazy high range like what Ariana Grande is doing, but with her consistent passaggio high notes and more importantly, her expression of the song. I love how she does it. Another thing that I've said this before, how wide she opened her mouth. Try doing that, it is not easy. Now the high difficulty is when not only do you hit B4 multiple times, you have to hit them with the mouth open. It's very, very difficult. So remember this. Things gets harder when it is repeatedly, that's number 1. Number 2, we have to open the mouth. Open your mouth is actually harder than keeping the mouth down. Now, if you're watching this and you're like, wait, no, opening up my mouth feels easier than closing my mouth. Whenever I open my mouth, I can feel that it feels easier for the sound to come out. But when I'm saying like a oo or e, it becomes hard. Then, almost 99%, you're pulling chest voice, you're stuck in your low placement because your low placement favors the wide and open vowel. Or here, it favors it. High placement favors narrow vowels. Because narrow vowels helps you, because the high placement, if you can understand it, is a very narrow spot. It is not a huge chunk, it is a very narrow spot high up on the walls of your pharynx. So because of the very narrow spot, your E and U naturally becomes easier. Whereas they become harder in a sense, in the beginning. But of course, eventually with more practice, all those vowels should feel the same. And if you haven't watched one of my videos on what great singers do and average singers don't, go ahead, click the video in the cards and you'll see exactly what I mean in that video. Now, let's continue to take a look at Taylor Swift performing Lover, which is one of her newer songs. And I love that song. When I first heard it, I think it is a version when she sang with Shawn Mendes. And because I love Shawn Mendes as well, so when they are singing Lover together, it just feels so wonderful. I love the song by itself. Taylor Swift's vocals makes it even better. Let's watch it. I think I'll love this performance. Oh, I love the vibe of this. The guitar is Lover as well.
We could leave the Christmas lights up till January.
A bit like talking.
This is our place, we make the rules.
Can you hear that she's like talking? Very relatable, very talking. Not always super on pitch, but it is designed to be seen like this. Slightly with a bit of talking here and there, kind of vibe. It is what Taylor Swift is known for, and I love the way she does it.
There's a dazzling haze, a mysterious way about you, dear. Haven't known you 20 seconds, or 20 years.
And she's tall. Look at her height.
Can I go where you go?
Perfect.
Can we always
She did something there very effortlessly. But I can tell you they can try this, ladies. B4, A4, B4, A4. Opening up on a ever, It is not easy. If let's say now it is like a U or a E or A, it's easier than a is very wide. It is like R as well. Both and R, they are two of the hardest vowels to sing once you have access to high complete mixed voice vocal placement. It takes time to learn how to train yourself to open up to like what Taylor Swift is doing right there, without yelling or shouting or straining. Ladies, don't trust me? Try this now. Try singing whatever Taylor Swift just sang. Realize that she's not in a head voice or falsetto. She's in a very balanced mixed voice right there. Can you hear that? Listen again. So much control. Another killer. Mind. Ma. B4 again. It is not easy to do that. Guys, it's like once again doing G4 multiple times on a wide vowel. It is not easy. That's why I don't get why would people say that Taylor Swift can't sing. Maybe in the past she really can't sing. I'm not too sure because I'm only watching her current performance. I think she's killing it. Her voice is so good. It's industry standard from a technical point of view. She's not worse than any other singers. She's fucking good as a technical singer. Most people, I think this is the reason why. Most people just look at her and think that, oh, she writes songs, like they discredit her vocals. It's like a lot of people, they will say like, oh, look at Ed Sheeran. He can write so well, his song's so popular, but can he sing? Justin Bieber also, right? We like his songs, but can he sing? They can. All of them they can sing. But just because their songwriting is good, a lot of time it covers their vocals. Perhaps they are more well known for their songwriting as a result as this disparity. But the truth is this, their vocals are only bad because people tell you it's bad. But if you have a professional ears, you can hear for yourself, it is not bad. So far I'm not hearing anything bad. It is live launch, yeah, but they probably have some post-production. But even with a bit of auto-tune, I can hear that she sounds perfect. Her technique is on point, on freaking point.
Lover.
It's the kind of nuance. She can stay so relaxed and yet singing those high notes. It is not easy.
We could let our friends crash in the living room.
Yeah.
This is our place. We make the call. And I'm highly suspicious that everyone who sees you wants you. I've loved you 3 summers now, honey, but I want them all.
Yes, give me more.
Can I go where you go? Can we always be this close?
Another thing I want to point out, which I didn't point out earlier on, can you tell that between her mixed voice and her falsetto, or her head voice, the distance is not very large. That means it's not like a yodel. She didn't yodel into it. It is a very smooth transition. The only reason she's able to keep it a smooth transition is because I've said this multiple times. Your complete mixed voice vocal placement is here. Your head voice placement is somewhere higher. It's a small distance. So when you transit from this point to this point, almost there's no distance between the two sounds. It feels like it's coming out from the same level, the same placement. Does that make sense? Listen again to a transition. Very small distance. Damn, so good. She can sing high notes. What's with the people's idea that Taylor Swift can't sing high notes? She went up to D5 there, which is equivalent for a guy. B flat. B flat is a high note for a guy, just like how D5 is a high note for a lady as well. She have no problem. She just go there confidently, execute it. No second take, third take, one take, just go. Taylor Swift can sing very well. First of all, I just love this song so much. I love this performance so much. Do you realize that just now I actually have a lot of things that I want to say, but because I was enjoying it so much, I resisted the urge. In fact, I don't have to resist the urge. Naturally, I just learned to enjoy, and I stopped analyzing her. But there was a lot going through my mind just now when I was trying to look at her. But you see, Taylor Swift's voice and the song itself is so good, and it doesn't help that she's good looking. I mean, I think Taylor Swift is really good looking, and I think she's so beautiful. So when she sings this song, it's just like, for a moment I was just dazzled just now. I'm like, oh, this is so good. But yeah, I think I've analysed enough at the beginning of the performance, so I'm just enjoying myself towards the end, so don't mind me. Now that we're finished, oh, by the way, if there's one more thing I'll say is, for Taylor Swift's Lover, if you compare to just now when she sang Wildest Dreams, Lover here, she, especially for those mixed voice notes, she sounds less chesty, more in a mixed voice. In her previous performance, Wildest Dreams, those high notes, those B4s versus the B4s that she sang here, let's do a comparison. You can hear that in the Wildest Dreams, it sounds more like a chest voice. Here it sounds less like a chest voice and more like a mixed voice. But the truth is this, both are mixed voice, except that the B4s that she sang in the Wildest Dreams, for those high notes, it is more chest resonance. So it creates the idea that she's using more chest voice. Well, it depends on how you define chest voice. Personally, I look at it as chest resonance. I hate the word chest voice because normally chest voice is associated with a very stubborn and heavy quality, whereas the mixed voice is more floaty in the high placement, and yet it is controlled. So Wildest Dream, more chest resonance. Here is more of a balanced resonance. Some people like to listen to that more, some people like to listen to this more, but the whole idea is this: her chest resonance in the Wildest Dream is what allows her to sound like she's in a chest voice, whereas here you can tell that clearly she's not in a full chest voice, or rather I would say she's not using chest resonance dominant mixed voice here. She's using more of a balanced mixed voice with all three chest, nasal and head resonance coming out at the same time in this high placement. I hope you enjoyed the artist analysis that I just did. You probably have heard me mention high complete mixed voice vocal placement multiple times, or high placement multiple times in the video, because that's literally the key to singing high notes well, like that singer that you have just watched. If you want to discover your own high complete mixed voice vocal placement, then follow the link below and I'll show you exactly how you can do that. See you on the other side.